Smith, Jr.
Edelmiro Abad.
Marie Rose Abad.
15 years later, honoring the fallen with a promise to never forget. Ceremonies in New York, Washington, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania paid tribute to all 2,996 people killed on one of the darkest days in our nation's history. Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maggie Newland. Several events commemorating 9/11 took place in our area today as well. First responders remembered their fallen comrades, and young people visited memorials. We have team coverage of this somber anniversary beginning tonight with Brooke Silva Braga in New York.
Only the moments of silence interrupted the reading of the names.
Kevin W. Donnelly.
Jacqueline Donovan.
Nearly 3,000 victims of the September 11th attacks were remembered one by one.
Whenever you wore a ridiculous shirt such as the one I'm sporting, we didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Today we will do both.
Those reading the names included Walter Matuza. He's blind, but was able to recite some of the names, including his father's.
And my father, Walter A. Matuza, Jr. We miss you, Dad.
Philip Hayes has been to all 15 ceremonies. He flew in from L.A. to remember his dad, a World Trade Center fire safety director.
When they clanged the bell for the time that my dad lost his life, that exact moment is like the most touching to me.
At a ceremony remembering those lost at the Pentagon, President Obama hailed the sacrifice of the fallen and the resilience of those left behind.
We come together in prayer and in gratitude for the strength that has fortified us across these 15 years.
And outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where Flight 93 crashed, an honor guard placed a wreath at the memorial, honoring the 40 passengers and crew. A day of working to move forward while vowing not to forget. Brooke Silva Braga for CBS News, New York.
Several events across our area today also honored the victims. Just about 2 hours ago, the Oakwood Cemetery held a ceremony to honor first responders. Former Raleigh Mayor Smedes York was the keynote speaker. Organizers also collected items to create care packages for local first responders. Meanwhile, at a ceremony in Clayton, firefighters and EMS workers spent the morning honoring their comrades who died on 9/11. The department rang a bell, then held a moment of silence for each flight that was hijacked. Clayton's first responders say it is the least they can do for the fallen heroes.
In the fire service in general and public safety, when we join or get into this business knowing there's that inherited risk, and there are training aspects we go through and things to help prepare us for incidents, and the willingness to go is it's our job. You know, every day we put our we put our uniforms on our patch. You know, WTC 91101 is on our patch every day that we put on our uniform.
In several local communities, pieces of the Twin Towers serve as memorials and reminders. CBS North Carolina's Steve Sprasia spent some time at memorials in Pittsboro and Apex, collecting memories from visitors.
Some who come here are too young to remember. Others remember all too well.
Horror, disbelief, feeling of patriotism, fear.
15 years have passed since this beam from the North Tower crashed into Ground Zero. Yet for some, memories are as vivid today as when it first happened.
For me, it's not like history. It's something I actually lived through.
Everybody was scared. Nobody knew what was going to happen. We didn't know why. We didn't know what was happening, and it was just a lot of shock, and it was a lot of disbelief.
Today, Jackie Nygren brought her children to Pittsboro so they could touch history and learn.
I think it's important to remember this day. You know, I think too many holidays go by that we don't remember.
Sitting 444 miles from Ground Zero, this piece of the North Tower stands tall. In nearby Apex, a smaller piece of the South Tower sits on a pedestal in downtown. But no matter which memorial you visit, they stand to honor.
I feel for the loss of all the lives. Makes you think about them. I think day to day we kind of forget that. We just say 9/11, but I think when we sit and take time to do the memory, you think of all those individuals.
In the last 15 years, many words have been written reflecting on 9/11, but perhaps the most important reflection is this: a moment of silence. I'm Steve Sprasia, CBS, North Carolina.
And in Chapel Hill, several events honor those who lost their lives 15 years ago today. 2,996 flags, one for each victim, were placed around the bell tower at the center of UNC's campus.
Regardless of every racial tension or other tension that's going on in the world, we can come together not just to recognize one another, but to recognize people who have come before us and who have lost their lives.
And on Friday, ROTC students and community members participated in a step run, climbing 2,076 steps, the same number in the Twin Towers.